So when your best friend says you need to have a disclaimer in the beginning of your podcast because the lawyer in her is screaming, you do it. Here's my disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am not even an expert. I am you. I am bringing information to you as I see it. But don't take my advice. Make your own choices and make them good choices. On with the show.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about cannabis.
Community violation. Code Green Plant.
Hi, and welcome to my solo series with me, Christy Chanel. I am really glad you came back. I am so glad because I'm still finding my way. I'm still figuring out who I am in this whole thing. It's fun. It's like therapy for me. I will tell you, the last episode that I released, I was super uncomfortable with it. I cut out at least a good 20, 25 minutes of that episode. It's so scary. It's scary. You get to talking and you're literally talking to yourself. And then you realize it's not only for yourself. This isn't a diary. This is a platform to talk to other people and to share your life. So I do realize that I have to get more and more comfortable with it, but I think I get the most uncomfortable when I am talking about very real people in my life or people that have been in my life through the years because they impact me and they play a role, whether they know they play the role or they don't know they play the role. I know they play a role and I'm trying to share my experiences, but I get nervous when it involves other people. I just do. You know what I mean? So those are the parts that I cut out from last week's episode. The parts that were not very nice. And it's not that they were bad. It's not that they weren't cool. It's that I know them. I know them. And I'm about to speak on something that happened back in high school. Yeah, long time ago. Still really mean girlish. So I think that's where I get the most nervous when I talk about other people that are real, that are in my life. But it's my story, right? I shouldn't feel that way. Yeah. And I'm not naming names, but still, it's like the Taylor Swift Easter egg effect. It's like I drop an Easter egg here, I drop an Easter egg here. And then if anyone is listening that knows me is going to try to put those pieces together, or they already know, and they're going to go tell that person. So it's a little hard. I will get past it because I plan on talking about everything on Love You, Miss You, Bye, but not necessarily here. So I'm cutting out a couple of things. Yeah. So anyway, last week's episode was a little bit scary, but I cut it out, so it's not scary anymore. So anyway, today, I wanted to talk about, this chair is squeaky, so I want to apologize ahead of time. It's a squeaky chair, and I talk with my hands, and I move around a lot. So the chair may get a little squeaky throughout the episode, so I want to apologize for that. But that means I'm very passionate about what I'm talking about. So today we're going to talk about finding your path and becoming an entrepreneur that I know is inside you. My path was completely filled with crossroads. I could go left, I could go right, or I could go down the middle. And these choices have completely shaped who I am today. Of course, at the time and when you're going through it, you don't even realize this choice will change your future. But it absolutely does. And that's one of the things I tell my kids, make good choices. Just make good choices. And that was originally going to be the name of this solo series because I truly believe in that. I just do. So many things I have done have led me down this path. And I go, and as I'm telling you guys, I'm going through all these things that have led me here. And it just becomes even more and more clear. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so are you. So maybe today it might get some of those juices flowing where you can start to see, if you haven't already figured out your path, maybe where you're leading and where you should be going towards, because that inner voice is guiding you somewhere. It's guiding you. It's not just the crazy person in your head. It's guiding you. And now I know that, and I believe in that, and I'm going to listen to that. I haven't always listened to that. So I know it sounds like I have. I absolutely haven't. But I know that I'm supposed to be here. And for the very first time, when I spoke about having my solo series, my own podcast called Love You, Miss You, Bye, everything in my body told me this is right. I got chills. I cried. I literally cried for 2 days. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but I felt everything in my body saying go, and I listened to it. Now, I don't know what's going to happen over there. I don't know. But I know I'm supposed to go down that road. And maybe that's not the finish line for that. Maybe there's something else that I'm getting to. But that sure is very, very close to where I'm supposed to be. Or I don't think I would have gone into that full body experience that I had once I realized that's my mission. So I have my mission here as Code Green Plant with my co-host Phoebe. And now I have my solo mission on Love You, Miss You, Bye, starting January 1st. So that makes this episode 3 of the countdown. So we are on 3, and it's getting closer and closer. So at home, I'm coming up with, that little thing, that little picture that you have on a podcast where you're scrolling, you're trying to find a podcast. So for us, it's that woman that has her lips and they're like, shh. And it says Code Green Plant. I made that on Canva. Really, really good place. I don't like to use the templates because I don't want to be like everybody else. So I create from scratch. And that's exactly what I did there. I made that whole thing myself. And I love it. I kind of love it because it's, I don't know. I can't explain it, but I really liked it. And I haven't heard anybody say that it sucked. So we'll go with that. But last night I was sitting there making my picture for Love You, Miss You, Bye. And this is probably my 5th or 6th. I'm becoming a bit of a perfectionist on it because I want people to stop and listen. And I don't want to look like everybody else. With that being said, I was listening to a different podcast the other day, and they're talking about podcasts and what you should do and what the picture should look like. And she's like, yeah, no bright. She's like, everybody has bright pictures and colors and lots of words, and they all look the same. She's like, but then there's this one podcast where it's muted colors and it's very basic and very, just peaceful. I guess that's a good word, peaceful, muted colors, beiges and whites. And it's very aesthetically pleasing. And that podcast is super popular. So then I got all inside my feelings and I'm like, I am not a muted person at all. But I tried to make a muted picture last night. And it's beautiful. It's really, really pretty, and it's aesthetically pleasing, and it's got the daisies, which is an important thing for me in this podcast because it reminds me of my mother. But my mom did like the white daisies, but I like the orange daisies and the reds and the peaches and the yellows, and I'm a very vibrant person. So my picture has to be that. And I'm sorry if it's like everybody else. I can't help it. I have to have those bright colors because that's who I am. I'm bright. And I like people around me that are the same because it just makes us brighter together. So needless to say, I did not end up going muted colors. And hopefully the material is good enough to bring somebody in. I guess we'll see. Today, we're going to talk about those paths that lead you to your direction. I was thinking back. Oh, here goes that chair again, that squeaky little chair. I was thinking back to, when did I realize that I wanted to be a performer? And again, this isn't a performance. This is really who I am. People call me dramatic. Like my stepmom said the other day, she's like, I really like your podcast. It's just, very dramatic. And I'm like, well, Isn't that who I am? I'm very dramatic. I'm very over the top. I talk with my hands. I'm a full body communicator. That's me. Okay. If I could coin myself anything, it would be a full body communicator. I get really into everything. And that comes from my mom. But not only is it my mom, she has 3 sisters that were all the same way. All of them. So I go to visit them and it's like having my mom there because everybody's like, hi, oh my God. The excitement they give you when they see you is just, it feels like home. You know what I mean? That's what I know. That's what I love. It's like when it's somebody's birthday, they'll call and they'll sing, and when it's somebody does something really great, they'll get excited for you. My mom was that person. So of course, I want to be that to my kids and to my friends. And so if people call me dramatic, they'd be right. And I'd be okay with it because I am completely. I think it's one of the things about me that I own, I accept, and I like. And I know right now, are you thinking in your head, what is it about me that I like? Are you that dynamic person in the group? Are you that muted person in the group? Because they have a place too. Every personality in a group really makes the group who they are. You're going to have that one person that's in your face with love, but they're in your face. They tell you exactly how they're feeling. That's not really me. I wait for somebody to ask my opinion before I give an opinion. Like I've learned that about myself. It's never any good if you give an opinion and they don't want it. But you have that person typically in the group where they're like, I really don't like your boyfriend. And they are probably right. And they probably have a lot of reasons not to like your boyfriend. But I kind of love those people too. I kind of need that person in my life as well, because sometimes you don't want to hear what they have to say, but they're not afraid to say it. And I would rather have that person in my life than somebody that doesn't tell me they don't like my boyfriend. Do you know what I mean? But that person plays a role as well, because sometimes you just want to talk and you don't want to be judged or you don't want a solution. Typically, that's a lot of women are like that. Like when you're talking to your spouse and you say, oh my God, this happened at work today. And I can't believe they did that to me. And and you're just venting about it. And the spouse will say, well, okay, so then this is what you need to do. And you really don't want to hear a solution. You just want to freaking vent. And that's okay. There's this place for that person in your life that's just going to listen to you. I'm a really good listener. I know it's hard to believe because I'm a talker, but I am a very good listener. I'm also a manager to 9 people. So I have 9 people on my team. They come and they have weekly meetings with me. And they will have a time where they just sit there and they talk. And I listen. I just sit there and listen because I want to know what's going on in their lives because it directly impacts their job. So I'm both. I'm both a listener and a talker. Once it's my turn, I can spit it out. I can let you know exactly what's happening. But they have to ask for that. I definitely am a type of person. You got to ask me for my opinion. I'm not going to just throw it at you. In any case, I'm that dynamic. I don't know, it's dynamic. That sounds so into myself. I'm that vibrant person in the group. So I was thinking back, see again, I don't know how I got there. I am just all over the place in this podcast. Try to keep up. Just try to keep up with me. My friends do. They try to keep up with me. Okay, so I was thinking back to the performance side of myself, and I can take it all the way back to 3 or 4. My mom was a single mom at that point in time, and she put me in this like nursery school type thing. It wasn't kindergarten because I was too young for it, but it was like a paid daycare / nursery school. And in this nursery school, I think it was called Chimney Rock. It was in Texas. I think it was Chimney Rock. Anyway, I remember she dropped me off and I'd be dropped off with breakfast and a chocolate milk. And then I would go to class. And in this school, they would have these break-off things that you could go to, like swimming or dance or just different things like that. And I told my mom I wanted to do the dancing. Of course, it was a little extra money, but she scrounged the money to make it happen. And I got to do my first dance class. And I specifically remember tap class. I went to tap class. Here I am, this 3 or 4-year-old in my shorts and sneakers. And I look around and all these other kids have tap shoes on. I have sneakers. So all you hear from me, and every time you do shuffle, step, normally you'd hear tap, 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 tap. For me, it was screech, 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 screech. You know that sneaker on the gym floor sound, right? Well, I didn't care. I loved it so much. But I did look around and say, gosh, I want to have those one day. I really want those tap shoes one day. And then the day came where I got them. I was so excited. They actually had like a little heel on it. So I was like, I just felt like a badass. I really did. I was probably 10 at that point when I got my first pair of tap shoes. They were beautiful. They were just so beautiful. And I just felt so special to have them because I knew what it was like not to. And I just wanted to make that tap, tap, tap sound. You know what I mean? So I danced and I did jazz and tap and ballet for probably about 12 years. I did end up dropping ballet from my routine. I just never really liked it. I never really liked it. It was too slow for me. Go figure. It was just too slow for me. I wanted to move. I wanted to shake. I wanted to hear the music and vibe with the music. And yeah, everything about it. I loved it. I loved it. Then I got into gymnastics a little bit because I ended up trying out for the cheerleading team. And I did not make it the first time, which was devastating. But the really cool part about that whole memory of not making it was my mom. Honestly, it's those times where you fail that you really see who's there to lift you up. And maybe that's why I love lifting people up in general. My mom was there. So I didn't make it. She pulls up. I get in the car and I'm like, I didn't make it. Shoot. And I told her, I'm like, I didn't make it. She's like, you're lying. I'm like, no, I really didn't make it. And she couldn't believe it. She didn't believe me. She was like, there's no way. And honestly, if we're being totally honest, I didn't know why I didn't make it. Like I thought I did good enough to make it. I actually pinned it on my shorts. I know this sounds crazy, but I didn't have black shorts for the cheerleading tryouts. I think we had to wear a white shirt, white sneakers, and black shorts. And I didn't have any. So I had to borrow my dad's black shorts. And I rolled them up on my waist. And so I kind of looked probably homely a little bit trying out for that year's squad. But I was able to do everything. Like I had what I thought was the ability to do it. But maybe I just looked like awkward. I don't know. I still don't know. But regardless, I went home. I told her, and she's like, okay, Christy, stand up there. Show me exactly what you did. So I did the routine over and over, and she's like, okay, I don't see anything wrong with this. I'm like, I don't either. But she's like, but you got to practice. You did something. Maybe you didn't smile enough. Maybe you weren't loud enough. You need to keep trying. So I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And the way that tryouts ran was that we tried out, I think it was I want to say September for that year. And then at the end of the year, freshman year, we got another chance to try out for the sophomore year. So at the end of the year, I went and I tried out. And that time, I didn't think I made it. I had the right shorts, though, I will tell you that. I didn't think I made it. And so I called my mom before we got the results. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I made it. But she goes, well, did you try? Did you give it 100%? I go, I did. I gave it 100%. She's like, okay. So she's like, all right, I'll come pick you up now. So I'm waiting for the results. And then I find out I made it. I find out I made the team. And I'm walking outside. And I am not over exaggerating this story. My mom is sitting there. She rolls down the window and yells to the school because I have to walk the pathway to get to the car. So it's the front of the school building. And she goes, did you make it? And I scream, and no, I didn't even say yes because I was a little embarrassed. I'm not going to lie. I was a little embarrassed. I just shook my head. Yes. And she's like, oh my God. So then I ran and I got in the car and she screams and honks the entire way down the street. she's like, my daughter made cheerleading. And she started honking the whole way down the road. And it turns out to be one of my absolute favoriteest memories with my mom. That's how excited she got when I did good things, you know? And I just know she would be so excited right now with me doing this. She would be watching these episodes. She would be listening to my podcast every single time it was on and giving me advice and trying to get people on it. Like she would have been right here in it. And, you know, I miss that, but it's okay because I'm going to carry on for both of us. I am going to carry on for both of us. She gave me that. She gave me that. She gave me so much of it that right now I got enough to carry me the rest of my life. That's pretty freaking awesome. I went and I had the cheerleading, and then one situation that happened in cheerleading, which I can see now, affects right this second. So I'm on the cheerleading team, and the captains are the ones that typically went up into the booth and announced like the marching band or the names of the cheerleaders and the football team, whatever it was. They had a script that they had to read at halftime where the marching band would come out. And so even when we went to away games, we would go in there and we would announce, well, I wouldn't, but the captains would announce our squads and our marching band. So this particular game, we were there, and for some reason, and I cannot remember what it is, I think one of the captains was out and one of them couldn't do it. For whatever reason, that spot wasn't filled. So Miss Schmicky, who was our cheerleading coach, and then she later became vice principal. But anyway, our cheerleading coach, she looked at me, she goes, do you want to do it? And I was like, okay, why not? So me and this other person went up there, and I remember I was like, okay, I got this piece of paper out. I'm reading this piece of paper, and I go, and now, welcome your Colonia Patriots marching band. And I was so excited, and I put such inflection in my voice, and I got done, and I was just like, cool. That was like, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I get down and I walk over there. She goes, do you want to just do that every time? And I was like, okay. And she's like, that was so good. I would like for you to continue to do that. And I did. I got to do the announcements every halftime. Cut to now, and I'm doing the same thing. That's exactly what I'm doing. But I had that in my voice, that drama, that extra drama in my voice at 16. My junior year, I moved to Texas. and I started a new school, Duncanville High School. They had a few things here in Texas that they didn't have in Jersey, like dance instead of gym, which I'm going to take that every single time because I didn't like gym. Okay. I'm not that runner girl. I'm not that athletic girl, but I love to dance. So I took dance class, and I also took choir. And in choir, it was like they had it in tiers in Texas. So they had the choir, which was basic. Then they had a cappella, which was the next level. Then they had swingers, which was not what you're thinking. It was the show choir, more or less. They would dance and they would sing. Well, I saw that because I was entering as a basic because I had just entered the school as basic choir. I saw show choir and it was in my sights. I'm like, I want that. That's what I want. So I sang with them. I did, we're doing all this. And then one day the teacher says to me, this is towards the end of the year, he's like, Christy, do you want to choreograph our choir number? I must have been talking about how I danced for 12 years, or at that point, maybe 11. And he picked up on that and he asked me if I wanted to choreograph a choir for the show. And so I did. I was like, yes, I do. I want to. So we did kind of this chorus line type show or song, this chorus line type song. One singular sensation, every little step she takes. It was kind of like that. And so I had a million things running through my head. I had no budget. So I wanted us all to look the same. I was like, we all need to get black shirts. And then we got this sequence that was like a rope of sequence. So we got these ropes of sequence that were different colors so that everybody's shirt was a different color. And so we had like suspenders. We got these canes, and I put together this routine I remember the one time I'm in there choreographing and I'm like, okay, ready on 5, 6, 7, 8, that type of thing. And the show group is in this room watching me do this. I guess I'm teaching the grapevine at this point, because later that day they went to the teacher and they're like, she stole the grapevine from us and now she's having them do it. I mean, it was just this whole big thing. And I'm like, can you just leave me alone? Like, a grapevine is very standard dance. Like, I don't need your permission to know how to do a grapevine. But they didn't know who I was, and they thought that I was trying to steal their spotlight. I mean, yeah, of course. Of course we were. But it felt really good because it felt like we were the group of misfits. The choir was like the lowest in the totem pole, and we got to perform and we got to do the show. And I did not get to be in the show because I was failing something. I wasn't I wasn't a scholar. Let's just be real. I wasn't a scholar. I was failing something. So I never got to really dance in the show. I still got to choreograph it. At the show, of course, my mom and my stepdad come to the show, and I'm proud of it, because I'm in the living room. Of course, I'm making it up in front of my mom. And I'm like, okay, what if we did this? And what if we did this? And she's like, yeah, that's good. Wait, maybe you should try that. Like, she was always my partner in this kind of stuff. The group of girls, the choir, they got me these balloons and flowers and said thank you. It was just the sweetest thing. I loved that feeling of making something, making a show. And it's another street on my path, which is me now making a show, coming up with themes, going home and editing it and making it a show. It's just, my worlds have all come together. I say this to tell you that I know that you have these paths in life. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What are you doing right now? Does it fulfill you? Are you like me, sitting at home at 43, looking around at the walls saying, what do I want out of life? What's next for me? Who am I? What do I like? Are you that person? Because if that's you, I'm telling you, you have a path too. And your path has to be determined by what your passion is. Think back right now to all the things that you've done that have given you that spark, that knowing of, God, if I could do this every day and make money, I would do it. That's your moneymaker. And I know you're like, well, I can't make money at that. I've tried. I can't make money at that. You can. You absolutely can. Because if you have a passion for something, the money follows it. Listen, I don't have any money right now. I don't have any money. I'm paying, literally, I'm going to be paying for 2 podcasts. 2. One of them, just one part of one is like $44. So now it's doubled. So now just that one thing is $100. So I spend about $200 now. I'm going to have to spend $400. I'm not making anything. The money will follow because I'm on my path and I know it. The same is for you. The same is for you. So because we're talking about that, I decided to pull entrepreneurs, because I don't know how old you are. Okay. I don't know how old you are, but I know I'm 50. So I'm obviously going to connect with people in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s, that type of group, because you would think that our group, our age group, isn't out there finding their passion and becoming entrepreneurs and starting a business and becoming founders. But I have paperwork right here that tells me different. And I wanted to share it with you. So let's see what I found out. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I looked, and first, these lists only had men on them. It was just lists full of men, which is fine. And I'm going to tell you some of them, but it kind of broke my heart. I'm like, where's the freaking women? And where are those lists? Because I know majority of the people that listen to me are going to be women. If you're a man, I do have men on the list. So stay tuned, because there are men on the list if you're in your 50s and you haven't figured out your passion. So the first one, so basically what I had to do is I had to go looking to find female entrepreneurs that were over 40. So I did for you. Here we go. Okay, so the Geico founder, the insurance with the little lizard guy. Yeah. Leo Goodwin, actually started Geico at 50 years old, my age right now. And I think he's doing quite well. He's probably super happy he did that. So that's one. The next one is Harlan David Sanders, otherwise known as Colonel Sanders and KFC. How old do you think he was? I'm going to let you guess. You get 2 seconds. 62. Oh, 62. I still have 12 years to go for that. Okay, then we have Christian Dior. I mean, we all know Dior. He was 41 when he started Christian Dior. 41. Okay. Then we have Sam Walton, Walmart. He was 44. 44. What are we doing, you guys? What are we doing? What are we doing? E-Trade. So I guess it's like a trading service. I've seen it. I've seen the commercials for it. I've never used it. But Bill Porter, oh my God, he was 63. 63. Henry Ford. Everybody knows I drive a Ford, people. I drive a Ford. So without him, I wouldn't be driving a Ford right now. And my son, who's a locksmith, who makes keys and does the electrical panel to help people get in their cars and such and all these other things, he tells me Ford is one of the best, hardest to break into. So thank you, Henry Ford, who started this at 49. 49. Then we have Ray Kroc, McDonald's. He was 52. 52. Okay, let's talk about some women now. Toni Morrison. She wrote her first novel, The Bluest Eyes, at age 40. But she won a Pulitzer Prize at 56 and a Nobel Prize at 62. So she put the grind in at 40. She wrote her book, and then she won all these other accolades for it. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a short game here. It's a long game. And if you love something, it doesn't feel like it's time at all. How many times have you done something that you enjoy and the time has gone so fast? Because it's not like work. If it's not like work, it's going to go fast. And I bet you the time went fast for her too. And then everyone knows Martha Stewart. She made her first cookbook at 41. Yeah. I mean, everyone has seen, she's got her own cookware. She has a show with Snoop. She's gorgeous. And yeah, 41 is when she got her start. 41. And now she is still grinding it out. Like she keeps working. I really like Martha Stewart. Okay. Vera Wang. Vera Wang. She did not enter the fashion world till 40. 40. I actually wore a Vera Wang dress for one of my weddings. Yeah, one of them. Laverne Cox. She is an actress and a trans rights activist. She was cast in the Netflix show Orange is the New Black at 41. Then she was on the Times cover at 42, and she was nominated for an Emmy at 45. 45. She put the work in, and really it didn't take her long at all to get to where she was. So Laverne Cox. Okay, everybody knows this person, Kris Jenner. Kris Jenner. She did not get her wings until 52 when she pitched the Keeping Up with the Kardashians to a Ryan Seacrest that we all know from American Idol. And now look at her. She's like a gazillionaire. Julia Child, another famous woman. She wrote her first cookbook at 50. You know, she probably had all this experience cooking and she loved it. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to put out some recipes and maybe somebody will check it out and want to cook one or two of them. No, Julia. Everybody wanted to cook them. And now she's a household name. Betty White. I love her. I've always loved Betty White. She didn't join the Mary Tyler Moore show until 51. Holy crap. So she started basically, I mean, she was in a lot of stuff before that, but she didn't become like famous until 51. That's incredible. Laura Ingalls Wilder published Little House, which is later known as Little House on the Prairie, which we're all familiar with. So she published Little House, her book, at 65 years old. I wish I was a writer. I'm not a writer. I'm a talker. Anna Mary Robertson Moses, otherwise known as Grandma Moses, and she began her painting career at 78. 78! In 2006, one of her paintings sold for $1.2 million. Million. So, I mean, the whole point of this list is to tell you that it really doesn't matter how old you are. If you have a passion and you have a dream, you can do anything. That is the greatest thing about living here, is that we can pursue the things that mean something to us. We can. And you don't even know how to do it. See, that's the great thing. I don't know how to podcast. I'm learning, and I feel like I'm getting a little better as I go, but I don't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't even know how do you even get your little show to iHeartRadio? How do you get your show to Spotify? How do you get your show to Apple Podcast? I had no idea how that happened. None. I had to go read and I had to go figure it all out. I had to join groups. I had to ask people. But what I learned was it's not that hard. It's not that hard. So if that's something you choose to do, it's not that hard. And feel free to, email me and I will, walk you through it. I got nothing to hide. If you want me to talk about how podcasts work, I can do that too. I've got a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of knowledge, actually. I still don't feel like I'm an expert at anything, although I have a lot of knowledge. So I think it's important that I share it with you guys. You have to tell me what you're interested in. There's just so many different things. So if you're at home and you're looking around, staring at your walls, thinking, what's next? What's next for me? You can rest your head tonight and know it's everything. All right. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Remember, I'm here on Fridays for the next 3 episodes of my solo series. I'm here every Wednesday with Phoebe for our Code Green Plant episodes, where we talk about cannabis and the latest headlines. We now call them burning topics. Check that out. I am still making my ChristyChanel.com, so you don't need to go there yet, but you can go to simplyvibin.com. simplyvibin.com and check out all the stuff we have there right now. We're still making shirts and everything, so I can't wait to launch those on the website. And I'm going to do them for both shows. So yeah, well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. If you have it in your heart and you want to support the show, go down in the show notes to the link below and it will say support the show. You can support us for under $5. I think there's denominations of 3, 5, and 10, I believe. So as low as $3. I appreciate it. It goes right back into the show. We don't even take the money out. It stays there in Buzzsprout, which is the host for the show. Thank you for listening. I will talk to you next Friday. Love you, miss you, bye.
This episode of Code Green Plant was sponsored by Simply Vibin LLC. Code Green Plant is a Simply Vibin production hosted by Kristy Chanel along with her co-host Phoebe James. This podcast is not intended to be used for medical advice and is solely the opinion of the host. Please consult your physician. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to follow us on social media. Want more? Visit www.simplyvibin.com. And a special thank you to the core group of people who helped with the creation of the Code Green Plant podcast. We appreciate you simply vibing with us.
Code Green Plant.
Shh.